What you walk away with when you sell your Huntsville home is not the sale price. It is your sale price, minus your mortgage payoff, realtor fees, title costs, deed preparation, and any other closing costs or negotiated credits. That final number is your estimated net proceeds, and that is the number sellers should understand before they ever put a sign in the yard. I'm Steve Stinson with Keller Williams Realty. I've been helping people move across the Tennessee Valley since 2005. If you're considering a move, schedule your complimentary strategy call. A short conversation can save you time, money, and help you make better decisions. The link is in the description. Most homeowners naturally focus on the biggest number, the list price, the offer price, the sale price, and I understand why. That is the number everybody talks about, but when you sell your home, the number that actually matters is what lands in your bank account after closing. Those two numbers are not the same. Sometimes they are very different. So in this video, I want to walk you through how a seller net sheet works. What costs usually come out of your proceeds in a Huntsville home sale, and why you should know this number before you make your next move. Because the last thing you want is to sell your house, get close to closing, and realize your walkaway number is lower than you expected. That creates stress. It affects your next purchase. It can change your moving plans, and in some cases, it can change whether selling even makes sense right now. A seller net sheet is simply an estimate of what you may walk away with after everything is paid. It starts with your expected sale price, then it subtracts your mortgage payoff, then it subtracts the seller costs that are typically paid at closing. What is left is your estimated net proceeds. That is the real number, not the Zestimate, not the neighbor's sale price, not what you hope the house sells for. The net number is what you can actually use for your next home, your savings, your retirement plan, your relocation, or whatever comes next. Here is why this matters so much in Huntsville. Our market has changed over the last few years. For a while, sellers could focus almost entirely on getting the highest possible price because demand was so strong and inventory was tight. Today, buyers are more careful. Interest rates matter, affordability matters, condition matters, and buyers are comparing your home against every other option in their price range, including new construction, remodeled resale homes, and homes where sellers are offering concessions. So when you are thinking about selling, you need two numbers. First, what your home is realistically worth in today's market. Second, what you are likely to net after the sale. If either one of those numbers is wrong, your plan can be off. Let's start with the sale price. A seller net sheet is only as accurate as the sale price you put into it. That sounds obvious, but this is where a lot of sellers get tripped up. If you plug in a number because it sounds good or because your neighbor sold for that amount 2 years ago, the estimate may not be useful. Your home's value depends on current market conditions, recent comparable sales, location, condition, updates, competition, and buyer demand in your specific area. A house in Blossomwood will not be valued the same way as a house in South Huntsville. A home in Madison may compete differently than a home in Hampton Cove. A resale home in Owens Crossroads may be compared against nearby new construction. A home that has been updated and move-in ready is going to be viewed differently than one that needs flooring, paint, windows, HVAC, or a roof. So before you focus on what you will net, you have to start with a realistic sale price. Not the highest possible fantasy number, not the lowest fear-based number. A grounded number based on what buyers are actually doing right now. Once you have that number, then you can estimate your seller costs. The first major cost is usually realtor fees. Realtor fees are negotiable. There is no legally required commission rate. The amount depends on the services provided, the price point of the home, the agreement you make with your listing agent, and what buyer side compensation, if any, is offered or negotiated. For planning purposes, many seller net sheets use a conservative percentage so the seller does not overestimate what they will keep. That is important. I would rather you be pleasantly surprised at closing than disappointed because the estimate was too optimistic. The second cost to understand is owner's title insurance. In a typical Huntsville area transaction, the buyer and seller often split the cost of the owner's title insurance policy. That policy protects the buyer against certain title issues, liens, or ownership disputes that could come up later. The seller's portion is usually a relatively small percentage of the sale price, but it still comes out of the proceeds. On a $400,000 sale, even a small title cost can still be several $100s. It's not usually the biggest line item, but it needs to be included. Next is deed preparation. When you sell your home, a deed has to be prepared to transfer ownership to the buyer. That is typically handled by an attorney or title company, and in most Huntsville transactions, that is a seller cost. It is not usually a huge expense, but again, it matters because the whole point of a net sheet is to avoid surprises. Then you may have miscellaneous costs. That could include an HOA transfer fee if your neighborhood has one. It could include termite-related costs. It could include small closing charges or other items negotiated in the contract. Every property is a little different. A home in a neighborhood with an HOA may have costs that another home does not. A buyer may ask for a credit toward closing costs. A repair agreement after inspection may affect your final number. Taxes and prorations can also come into play depending on timing and how the closing is handled. That is why a seller net sheet is an estimate. It is a very useful estimate, but it is not a guarantee. The final settlement statement from the closing attorney or title company is what gives you the exact number, but you do not want to wait until closing to have your first idea. That is too late. You want to estimate this before you list. Now let's talk about the mortgage payoff. This is one of the biggest reasons your sale price and net proceeds are not the same. If your home sells for $400,000, that does not mean you walk away with $400,000. If your current mortgage payoff is $225,000, that amount has to be paid at closing. Then your selling costs come out. Only after those items are paid do you get your remaining proceeds. That is why two sellers can sell homes for the same exact price and walk away with very different amounts. One seller may owe very little. Another may still have a large mortgage balance. One seller may offer buyer concessions, another may not. One home may need repairs after inspection. Another may be clean and straightforward. The sale price gets the attention. The net sheet tells the truth. Here's a simple example. Let's say a Huntsville homeowner expects to sell for $350,000. They owe $210,000 on the mortgage. They also have realtor fees, title costs, deed preparation, and a few miscellaneous closing costs. Depending on the negotiated terms, their walkaway number may be far below $350,000. That does not mean anything went wrong. It just means the sale price is not the same as net proceeds. That is normal. The key is knowing it up front. This is especially important if you are buying another home after you sell. If your next purchase depends on the proceeds from this sale, you need to know how much cash you will realistically have available. That affects your down payment. It affects how much you may need to finance. It affects whether you can make repairs, buy furniture, cover moving expenses, or keep a cash cushion after the move. For downsizers, this matters too. A lot of sellers in Huntsville and Madison County are not just moving from one house to another. They are simplifying. They are trying to reduce maintenance. They may be moving closer to family. They may be planning retirement. They may be selling a long-time home and trying to understand what the next chapter looks like financially. In that situation, guessing is not a plan. You need real numbers. For relocators, the net sheet matters for a different reason. If you are moving out of Huntsville for work, family, or retirement, you may be trying to line up a sale here with a purchase somewhere else. Your timing matters, your cash matters, your closing costs matter. The more clearly you understand your walkaway number, the easier it is to make decisions with confidence. Now, here's one of the biggest mistakes I see. Seller will ask, "What do you think my home is worth?" That is a good question. But the better question is, if my home sells for that amount, what will I actually walk away with? That is the number that affects your life, and it is also why pricing strategy is so important. If your expected sale price is too high, your net sheet may look better on paper than it will in real life. That can lead to decisions based on money you may never actually receive. On the other hand, if you price correctly from the beginning, attract serious buyers, and negotiate from a position of clarity, you have a much better chance of making a clean decision. Not a perfect decision. There are no guarantees in real estate, but a better informed decision. And that is the goal. Here's the simple plan I recommend. First, get a realistic home value estimate, not just an online estimate, not just a guess based on what your neighbor listed for. You need a value range based on current comparable sales, active competition, condition, location, updates, and buyer demand. Second, run a seller net sheet before you list. Plug in a realistic sale price. Include your mortgage payoff, include realtor fees, title costs, deed preparation, and any likely miscellaneous costs. If you may offer concessions or if your property may need repairs, factor that in too. Third, use the net number to make your next move. That may mean selling now, it may mean waiting, it may mean making repairs before listing, it may mean pricing more strategically, it may mean adjusting your next purchase budget. The point is not to force a decision. The point is to make the right decision with your eyes open. A seller net sheet also helps you compare offers more clearly. This matters a lot. The highest offer is not always the best offer. One buyer may offer a higher price but ask for closing cost assistance. Another buyer may offer a little less but have stronger terms. One offer may include financing, appraisal, and inspection contingencies. Another may be cleaner. One buyer may need a long closing. Another may be able to close faster. Your net sheet helps you look beyond the headline price and compare what each offer may actually mean to you. That is especially important in a market where buyers are more selective and negotiations are more common. In Huntsville, sellers need to stay grounded. We still have a strong market in many areas. People are still moving here. Jobs, Redstone Arsenal, Cummings Research Park, aerospace, defense, engineering, and quality of life all continue to support long-term demand. But that does not mean every home sells instantly. It does not mean every seller gets whatever price they want, and it does not mean the sale price tells the full story. Sellers who usually make the best decisions are the ones who understand the numbers before the pressure starts, before the showings, before the offers, before the inspection, before they are trying to make a fast decision at the kitchen table with a contract in front of them. That is where preparation helps. A seller net sheet is not complicated, but it is powerful. It takes the emotion out of the first step and gives you something practical to work from. Here's the bottom line. Before you sell your Huntsville home, do not just ask, what can I sell for? Ask, what will I actually net? Because the sale price is only part of the story. Your net proceeds are the number that determines your next step. If you are thinking about selling, buying, relocating, or investing in the Huntsville area, this is where a short conversation can save you a lot of time and guesswork. Schedule your free 20-minute strategy call using the link in the description. You can look at your home, talk through the current market, estimate a realistic value range, and help you understand what you may actually walk away with before you make a decision. And once you know that number, everything gets clearer. You are not guessing. You are not relying on an online estimate. You are not making plans based on a sale price that may not reflect your actual proceeds. You are making a wise move based on real numbers. Hey, if you're not planning a move right now, share this video with someone who is. I'm sure they'll find it helpful, and I'd be glad to help them make a wise move too.